Are we doing great? How are the children? Aww. You're making me blush. I'm trying to form serious, But thank you. Thank you. I do appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, dear. Alright, so good day to you. If it's night when you're watching this, hello, good evening. How are you doing? How are the children doing? How are you handling things? How's things at your end in your neck of the woods? I hope it's not been too rough. If it had to get better, and let me say well done and thank you. Like I like to do every now and again. Parents are they are doing it. Parents are doing it, and they're going through it because it's such a burden. That's the truth. It's such a burden. It's such a heavy responsibility when done right. When you put in all the necessary effort and you carry that consciousness, right? It's a heavy responsibility, but it's also rewarding. It's so rewarding. It's such a blessing. It's such an opportunity. Right? That's how I see parenting. I see it as a blessing and a burden. So what I'm trying to do is to help ease that burden, help make sense of one or two things that can make things better for you, and help increase your chances for better results. Right? Because at the end of the day, your results are what would count. Your final output, that child that you've raised into adulthood. And that's what I'm about. Intentional parenting with the future in mind, realizing that the time is short, right? And what we do with that time is significant, is important, and our actions and inactions have consequences, right? So that's all I'm about, and I'm trying to help. Okay, I'm trying to help. I'm trying to provide information, to provide education, to provide support, to provide clarity, right? So yes, that's what we're trying to do. That's what I'm trying to do. And I thank you for joining, for taking the time, for making the time to watch this, to help you. I believe it will help you. I'm certain it will help you. And I thank you for joining this evening, today, right here, right now, for watching, for taking the time to watch, right? So we're talking about discipline in parenting. That's what we're trying to tackle at this time. So what is discipline? Now, discipline, sometimes, well, most of the time, it helps to look at the etymology of a word when you're trying to understand it, to look at the root word, what the source, the origins, what it first meant. Do you understand? And sometimes words have different sources. They have different ways of explaining them. So we're going to look at two for discipline this evening. So discipline is derived from the Latin word disciplina. Now, disciplina in Roman mythology was a goddess, a minor deity, right? And she was disciplined personified, very organized, this and that. And the word disciplina itself is a Latin noun that refers to education, training, self-control, determination, knowledge in a particular field of study, and generally an orderly way of life, right? That is what disciplina means. Now, some other sources say discipline comes from the word disciplos. Now, disciplos is a Latin word for pupil, for student, right? Which also provides the source for the word disciple, which makes a lot of sense, right? Now, those two make a lot of sense. Now, one would wonder if this is what discipline is, what is it not? Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is not supposed to be harsh. Discipline is not with the intention of inflicting pain. That's not what it is. Discipline is training, is education, is teaching an orderly way of life, is guidance, is discipleship. Okay, that's what discipline is. And from the perspective of a parent, you need to be clear on what you want. it's important that you're clear on your goal as a parent when it comes to discipline. Now, looking at those two descriptions for the source, for the root word of discipline, which is disciplina, and disciplos, one would see that there is a future in mind, and I like that, right? There's a destination in mind. The goal is clear. You're trying to, a pupil eventually graduates, right? Someone who is undergoing education is expected to get to a certain level of awareness. So it tells us that it's a process. Discipline is a process. Discipline is in levels, right? It's graduated, okay? So like I was saying, discipline is what do you want as a parent, right? When you hear discipline, what is your goal? What is the destination that you would consider as having been successful at disciplining your child? Now, are you trying to discipline your child at will? For some parents, it's an ego trip. It is that I am asking you to do it and you must do it. There is no why. There is no explanation. If there is a purpose, if there is a principle, it would be more reasonable to explain it to the child so that you're carrying the child along. Okay, I want you to do this because, and then you're trying to reason with the child. Even no matter how young the child is, you're saying, okay, don't touch that because it can hurt you. You're backing your position up with an explanation because there's an explanation. For some people, there is no explanation. It's I'm the adult, I'm the parent, so I must impose my will. Now, if that is your goal, you want to be clear on that, okay? Now, do you want to discipline your child at will, which is not exactly discipline? It is more of domestication. You're trying to break the child in. You're trying to break down their whatever idea of defenses that they may have. You're trying to subdue the child, right? It's more of an imposition of your will, and it is not discipline. That's not what discipline is. We have said discipline is training, is education, is a state of self-control, a state of self-motivation, right? To be disciplined, right? I'm jumping the gun. Let's go back to what it is that you want. I'm trying to describe. I don't expect you to want this, but think about it. Domestication results in blind obedience, no questioning of status quo. They can't say, okay, this is how we've done this. I have an idea. Can I do it a different way and see if I will get better results? Which is describing a lack of initiative. Are you raising your child to be afraid of you? They can't relax in your presence. When you are there, they are stiff. We have to act a certain way, right? These children walk on eggshells around you, which is what we grew up with, right? I don't know the situation in your home, but how I grew up, once a particular car enters the compound, everybody arranges, right? And it has nothing to do with what we're doing before then. We just organize, okay? Because we have to maintain a particular outlook and we have to present ourselves a certain way. We had not absorbed the lesson. We were performing, okay? So that is what domestication results in: performance, eye service, if you will. Now, your child has damaged self-esteem if they walk on eggshells around you. They are not allowed to be themselves. They cannot relax, okay? Or this child cannot question the way things are done. This child cannot question you. They can't ask you why and expect to get a reasonable explanation. Is that your goal? Or are you trying to raise a child who is disciplined? Now, there are two different things. Are you trying to discipline, or you're trying to raise an individual who is disciplined, who is confident, right? They are disciplined in their actions. They are able to be considerate of other people. They can motivate themselves. They can disagree respectfully and maintain their position because they are confident and they are certain about what they're saying or about what they feel, how they feel about something. And they maintain that position in the absence of superior reasoning. So they don't sway to the left or sway to the right. They have a way of thinking and they stand by it. But they're able to communicate respectfully with the person that they disagree with and say, we can agree to disagree. You say that, this is the way I see it, and that's that about that. Are you trying to raise that type of person? you need to decide, okay? If that is the kind of discipline that you're looking at, you need to make a decision. I think the second description will be better for anybody who is raising a child, because you want a child who is confident, who is able to express themselves, who is not a people pleaser, so to speak. Some people are by temperament people pleasers, but you're not raising somebody who would sway to the right because this is where the majority is moving towards, right? Such people are domesticated. They are not disciplined because they are not motivated by themselves. They don't have the inner convictions. They flow with the wind, right? So child discipline, despite its reputation of being an issue sometimes, because one needs to understand that there's a balance, okay? When you are advised not to hit your child, it is not for you to let the child just grow without control like a weed, okay? Figuratively, just develop, right? That's not the ideal thing. You're going to have to discipline that child, but we're saying not physical basbos kind of discipline, and not the domestication that I alluded to earlier. So the end goal of all parental discipline is to give their children an ability to self-train, like I said, self-motivate, control their own behavior, their thoughts, their emotions, to be a positive addition to society, to the betterment of themselves and society and others. Now, traditional discipline lays the foundation for this by helping children understand the consequences of their actions. They make better choices when they're allowed to experience those consequences, and they establish lasting positive personality traits. So consistency is important here. And you have to remember, when you're tired of telling that child, stop, don't do that, okay, this is what you should do instead, you have to remember that it's for the future, it's not for now. So you pick yourself up and you set that child straight, because that is discipline. Consistency and structure is discipline. So I'm going to explain or mention 11 benefits of discipline. Discipline, when you're disciplined now, allows you to achieve your life goals, right? By weeding out distractions in your life. So as a disciplined person, you are able to set goals. Remember, we said self-motivated, okay? You are able to set goals and follow through. This conviction comes from within you. So you don't need somebody to prompt you and prod you and say, okay, this is what you should do now. You have decided this is what you want to do at this time, and you're able to follow through. Being disciplined is what will do that for you. Discipline also makes you feel good. Ultimately, self-disciplined people are proven to feel less stressed throughout their lives because they are disciplined, right? They feel good because they have good self-control. They are not motivated by impulse. So there's a feeling of control that they have, which makes them feel good, like they're in charge of what they're doing and they're making their choices by themselves. And they also feel satisfied with their lives, right? Researchers have found that there's a strong connection between high levels of self-control and life satisfaction in adults, right? So the more control you have over yourself, the more you enjoy your life. Another benefit of discipline. Discipline creates good students, obviously. And these people grow up to be lifelong learners. So a disciplined person is organized, and the person wants to learn. The person is interested in learning, right? Because they are more intelligent at the end of the day, because they are disciplined. Disciplined students are more intelligent and they are motivated, right? So they are able to motivate themselves and push themselves in a particular direction. Now, discipline also allows children to be able to set and achieve goals and do better in comparison to people who are not quite as disciplined, right? So children are able to set goals as adults, growing into adulthood. They're able to set goals and pursue those goals, and this self-control helps them keeps them in check. They're less distracted, like we said earlier. Also, discipline gives you a more positive outlook. Gives you a more positive outlook in life, right? You are disciplined, you're in charge, you're in control of your emotions, you're in control of your choices. Then you're able to see that things will be all right. So you have a positive disposition to the future. positive perception of the future, right? Discipline also helps you avoid temptations. Discipline, self-control. You're able to ignore distractions because you have trained yourself. Because you are trained, you focus on what you want to do per time. So you are not easily distracted, and therefore it helps you to avoid temptations. Discipline gives you grit. When you're a disciplined person, then you have set your heart and your mind on a particular goal and you go for it. Nothing stands in your way. Not quite as easily for people who are indisciplined. Once there's a bit of inconsistency or discomfort, they walk away, right? They are quick to drop whatever it is. They are not focused enough to stay with something until they get results, right? Discipline also makes you emotionally stable. Self-control promotes delayed gratification, and it directly influences your thoughts and emotions and impulses. So it is more likely that you are more stable when you're in control of yourself as a person, right? Discipline also keeps you healthy. You're able to walk away from drugs. I'm talking about children now. Even as an adult, you're able to walk away from drugs and make better choices, right? So your body is kept healthy. You know when to stop eating, for instance. That's discipline. You know what's not good for you. You're not swayed to the left or to the right. You're not easily affected by peer pressure. So the fact that somebody's doing something, if it doesn't make sense to you, it doesn't make sense to you, and so you don't indulge, right? And therefore your body stays healthy as a result of it. Also, it has been shown that discipline puts money in the bank. People who are not disciplined, who don't learn self-control, are more likely to break the law, right? And the fruitful part of their years that they're supposed to spend being productive and earning some money, then they are spending it behind bars, and they're more likely to commit crimes and all of that. But as a disciplined person, that's not a challenge that a person is likely to face. You're able to be focused and pursue goals and meet goals and hit those targets, and then more money in your bank. So in the bank for you. So those are some 11 positives of raising a disciplined person, or being disciplined at the end of the day for your child. Now, we've talked about the difference between discipline and domestication. The goal is to make better choices, to do the right thing, to have a value system, to do those things on their own, especially when nobody's watching. I've brought it back to parenting now. When nobody's watching, you don't want to be at the mercy of another person. Your choices are your own, okay? And you're not going to wait until you are told go and do that. You're disciplined. When you raise a child with discipline, to be disciplined like that, then your work is getting done. You're closer to getting your work done as a parent. Now, how do you help your child attain this state of being disciplined? First, I will say relationship. As a parent, your relationship with your child is the foundation for everything. Parenting is relationship, and it's important for you to realize that if the person who is closer to a person is who that person would regard and listen to more than someone who they're not. Now, in those days, people report their children to a visiting aunt or a neighbor or a spiritual leader or something. And I can imagine what goes on in the mind of such a child. Like, I don't know this person. Why should I listen to this person? And then I wonder at the parents myself, like, this child lives with you, okay? This child is not listening to you. Excuse me. This child is not listening to you, but you expect the child to listen to a complete stranger. How does that work? How does that work? And relationship also helps you know this child, so you know what works, you know what does not. If you know this is how to reach this child, then you will not try, you will not grope in the dark. You know that, okay, this is what I need to say to get this child's attention. Okay, so getting to know your child, building a firm, solid relationship based on trust, love, respect, and all those wonderful values that make for a deep bond with your child is the foundation for disciplining them, because then you are able to leverage that relationship, that bond, and get them to comply. Remember, we're not looking for blind obedience here, but you're trying to have a conversation with this child. Okay, this is what I think you should do, and this is what I think you should do. But if you don't even have a relationship, why should your words mean that much? And see, let's be honest, when we were being raised, we kind of had to do certain things. Now, the newer generation, they don't see it that way. Okay, so if your MO is to say you must do it, you will be pleasantly surprised that this child may not do this thing, and there's nothing you're going to do about it, but you don't want to get to that point. So build a relationship is the easier way. Okay, build a relationship. Now, I'm not suggesting that you could do everything right and things could not go wrong. No. And also, parents, it's also necessary to mention here that sometimes we take too much responsibility for what our children do, and therefore colors what we expect of them or what we understand by a disciplined child. Now, a child acting like a child is not bad. Okay, but because we're focused on what this person will say, what that person thinks, this person is probably looking at me and wondering if I'm even trying at all. Those people are struggling with their own children too. Okay, so don't worry about that. I'm a proponent of parenting with a destination in mind, with a vision, with a bigger picture. As long as that picture is you're still in alignment with that direction that you're going to, everything will be all right. I asked now, what is it that you want? Where are you going? What is the direction? What do you consider discipline? If it is articulated, if you're trying to raise a child, let me use this example. If you're trying to raise a child that is outspoken, can speak their minds, can question things, can say why, can ask you why, if that is your goal, then somebody else whose goal is to raise a domesticated individual would see your child as rude. But you that you are raising the child you don't agree, and it matches what your child is doing, matches the vision that you see for the child, then that person's opinion is just that, an opinion. Your goal, your results is what will count. Your results is what will matter. So what somebody thinks or what they say, secondary. In fact, maybe tertiary. Okay, it's not their perception that matters. What is important is that you're raising your child to be comfortable with you, right? If that is what you do. Okay, if you're raising your child to be comfortable with you, to be able to say, okay, why? So we said I should do this. Why did you? As long as this child is respectful in their questioning, you answer their question, and the child has learned something, and you might not even have to raise that issue with that child again. Okay, so we need to understand that some people feeling a certain way about what you're doing with your child, we now carry that, and it's so important, and that colors the choices that we make, and we try to make those people happy, and then punish your own child, or you don't want them to say that you are soft or something. No, it's not that a big deal. It's not that big of a deal. That person is struggling, is having their own issues with their own child, and they may even wish that their own child would even talk. They don't realize that it is their keep quiet that has killed that child's ability to express themselves and to do something and have fun at it and be creative. They don't realize, they don't see the link between their actions and the current state of their child. But your own child that can be themselves and play and just act out and have fun, be a child, really, because it's sometimes it's our perception, it's the lenses through which we watch the actions of these children, and then we're focused on what somebody else thinks. So let's adjust that. Let's not be so fixated on what somebody else thinks. Let's not be so emotional. Let us focus on where we're going, the kind of child we're raising, and walk in that direction. Use tools that are useful for us, things that are aligned with that vision, and carry on in that direction. Okay, so where was I have moved off my notes, so I need to find myself. All right, like I said, relationship That is the foundation. The more likely that your child is aware of your love and support, your unfazing, unconditional love and support, regardless of what they do. Remember, your perceptual code. Yes, the more aware of that fact that they are, the more likely they are likely to comply with instructions that you give them. They know that you're saying, okay, you must finish this task before you watch TV, is teaching them structure. It is not that you're being mean or you're being wicked. As they grow older, they will realize that, okay, I've been able to learn this. And then you see this child changing, and then you've moved on from this issue, and then you're trying to help them get discipline in another area. So, relationship, forge that bond, straighten them out with love, guide them, teach them, but let your relationship with them be solid. Communication lines should be kept open no matter what. There is nothing your child can do that can stop them from being your child. Nothing. Let them know that. You know that. Let them know that, so that they trust you, and then you're able to leverage that relationship to reach them. Now, like I said, communication is a parenting skill, much like parenting. Okay, so you have to master communication with your child at every stage. You have to know what you need to say. You have to know how you need to say it to communicate, to best communicate with them. That's why you need to take my what makes my child tick assessment. It helps you, tells you the personality type of your child, the methods of communication that are effective, discipline tips are included, communication tips are included, what you can do that can actually hurt and damage that child. Yes, some of those tips are there, so you can reach out to me if you need help with that. All right, so like I said, understanding your child at each stage. Now, some of these things are not in it. Okay, they're not in it. There are things that you need to learn, so you need to grow, you need to become better. Parenting is a skill. Okay, you need to hone it, you need to get better at it, and then you find yourself being calmer and understanding of the child, understanding of yourself. I mean, accepting that you falter and make mistakes, and identifying it when you make mistakes so that you can undo them, or at least make an attempt, apologize when necessary, have a conversation with the child when necessary, to correct an error. Because if you don't even know that there's an error, then what do? The damage will just be piling on top of each other. So you need to grow as a parent and expose yourself to information just as you're doing now. Well done again. Well done. All right, so let me use an explanation. If you're a Christian, let me use this description of how God handles us, right? To explain what you may need to do for your child, right? All right, so like I said, foundation, relationship. Now, we obey God because we love God. So, relationship. The deeper the relationship we have with God, the more we get to know Him, what is okay, what is not. And then God is even upfront with what is it He expects of us, right? So we have an idea of what is okay and what is not. We have the commandments, we have the final two that are greater than the others. Love God, serve Him with all your heart, with all your might, love your neighbor as yourself. So we have an idea of what is expected of us. Your child needs to have an idea of what you expect of them. You need to communicate effectively what you expect them to do. And also understand that if you have not said don't do it and they do it, they have not broken any rules yet. They tried something out. That one is not illegal. This is not like the rule, the law in the country that ignorance is not an excuse. No, the child tried something out, and also because they are children, attention span and all of that. You will say it again and again. It is the job. When we started, I said well done. So well done in advance. For every single time you have to reiterate what you said before. But you see, the beauty of it is one day you will wake up and that lesson would have entered and would have been solidified, and then you can move on to the next thing. It takes time, it takes effort, yes, but it works. Okay, it works. Now, like I said, God loved us first. You are going to need to love that child, and God loved us when we didn't know what was up at all. God didn't wait for us to desire or need that love. He loved us regardless. right? So you're going to need to give your child that unconditional love and benefit of doubt. Okay, you're going to need to do that. Now we have the Holy Spirit who nudges us to do what is right. So you're going to need to nudge your child and make it easy for them to be obedient or to comply. Don't be a taskmaster. Your rules should not be unending, and there is no point trying to frustrate this child, right? Don't be a taskmaster. Let your rules be simple, let them be clear, and let it be possible. Let it be doable, okay? There's no point asking a fish to fly. That's just mean and wrong. So manage your expectations. You expect this of your child, let them know. Give them a way of escape. Now I'm quoting scripture, but give them a way of escape. Give them a way up. Make it possible. Make it easy for them, right? I'm still going to talk about the different types of discipline broadly, okay? But make it easy. Make it possible. Help guide them into being into helping them to fall in line, right? So like I said, you need to remind your child of what is okay and what is not, right? I prefer to focus on what is okay. So an example would be a child is running around the house. Now, instead of saying don't run, you say walk. Because when a child hears don't and run, there is run, right? And in fact, the law of attraction would tell us that we should focus on what it is that we want. Because saying you don't want something doesn't mean that you're not thinking about it. Somewhere in your subconscious, that negative part of that thing you don't want is still there. So focus on what it is you want. Rather than thinking I don't want to be late, think I'm going to be on time. That's how law of attraction works. So let's apply it here. Rather than tell the child, don't make noise, sit quietly. Don't shout, speak softly. Think of the positives, right? And this thing that some parents do, that you're heading out and then they say, look, if we get there, and you go and talk to your child like a human being. All right, we're going out. This is what I'm going to need you to do. Please stay where I can see you. Stay close. Don't say don't wander off. Stay close to me. Make sure that I am in your sights. When you look back, if you walk too far and you look back and you can't see me, then it's time to come back. Say your expectations. Don't focus on what it is you don't want. Stop suggesting things to these children. Don't suggest bad things that when they now do it, you're now surprised. Don't suggest it. Seriously, say exactly what you want. I want you to keep your shoes on. Please keep your shoes on. Finish your food. Not if you don't, what's the point of focusing on what you don't want, right? So sometimes it feels like they're not hearing you, like I said, but one day you realize that behavior you were worried about is gone away. And also focus on what you want. Praise behavior that you want to see repeated. Pay attention to behavior that you want to see continue. Don't let these children experience a situation where the only time your voice is loud is when they misbehave. Hail them. Say well done. Appreciate them when they do what is right. So your child didn't need to be reminded to carry out some chores in the house. Say well done. Don't just go like so. Because if this child didn't do it, we will hear your voice. Right? So say well done. Pay attention to behavior that you would like to see continue. Right? So another thing about our relationship with God is that God lets us experience the consequences of our actions, right? Like the principles that govern our planet. An example is gravity. If you jump up, you will come down, except something suspends you in maybe a jet engine or something, or a hoverboard or something. But typical situation, you jump up, come down. If you hold something up and you let it go, those are principles, those are consequences. If you do A, you enjoy the consequence. They come together. It's a pair. Now sometimes we need to let these children experience consequences so that they can match action with consequence and then realize that it's not working, it's not paying them. They can try it again, but when the consequences are consistent, then they will learn something. Okay, all right. let's look at the three broad forms of discipline now. There are three of them, and I'll mention examples so that it will help answer the question of how do we get our children to be disciplined. Number one is preventative discipline. Preventative discipline. Now, this is creating structure for your child. Remember, I talked about making it easy for these children to fall in line. Now, a value system is important. I talk about having family values a lot because it just helps communicate your expectation to your child. So as a family, you make a list. You look at the values that you would like to see in your children, your fully grown children. I like to use 30 years as a benchmark. Your fully grown 30-year-old person, which some scientists say that's when the prefrontal cortex has been fully formed. That's when a person's brain is fully formed. 30 years. What values would you want to see in them? Work towards those from now. Don't wait until, okay, I'm saying what I don't want, right? All right, but I will say it because I can't think of any other way to put it right now. Don't wait until they're getting married before you say you must do A, B, C, D. Put those values in them now so that they can reach deep into their hearts and act those things out, because it will have become a part of their lives by the time they're that old, right? So family values are important, and they give you something to point the children to. So they act, they carry out an action and is negative to a family value. So you can easily say, what are our family values? And they see, and they're able to see that it's contrary. What they did is contrary to a family value, and then it makes sense, right? And they know that they're working towards a goal. So have family values. Ground rules in the house. This is what we do. This is who we are. This is what is okay for us to do. It provides a framework for the child to express themselves. Remember, we're not trying to raise domesticated people who can't be free. Let them be free, but give them a space. Give them something to work with. Okay? That is what values would do for you. Ground rules in the house. Once you do this, you finish your food, you clean your plate. You mess it up, you tidy it. You spill it, you wipe it. Those kind of things. Let them get used to hearing it. You are preventing the child. It's preventative discipline. So you're not waiting until the child falters. You're giving them what they are supposed to do, and doing it frequently, saying it again and again and again. It becomes part of them. You wake up, you lay your bed. This is what you do. You do it with them because you're teaching and you're talking to a child. Even some adults are difficult to teach, let alone children. So let's cut them some slack, okay? Let's cut them some slack. Let's extend grace to our children. Preventative discipline. Give them structure. Give them a framework. Write routines. Help them to remember. Let them write it down. When you wake up, this is what you do. Put it where they can see it. Put a time frame in there. We had to do a lot of that during the lockdown because it was a long stretch of everybody being cooped up in the house. So I had to take a pencil and paper and sat down with the boys. This is what you do from this time to that time. This is what you do. This is what you do. So I've given them something to work with. If they are doing something outside those hours, I can easily say, go and check your schedule. What is it that you're supposed to be doing now? So there was reading, there was playing with toys, there was napping. There was no napping, but there was napping on that time table. But napping never. I'm not reporting them. I'm just saying, napping never happened. But there was napping. It was an agreement. We sat together and we did it. This is what you're supposed to do. So I've given them a framework. I've given them a structure to express themselves within. Right. So it helps them. Right. It helps them to learn to be disciplined. So after some time, they didn't need to look at that list anymore. They just knew, okay, this is what we do. After this is what we do. When we wake up, we pray, we lay the bed. Sometimes I'll need to remind them. Again, they are children. But some things became routine, right? And that is how discipline is built. Discipline is what you do over and over. Experts tell us that it takes 28 days to form a new habit. Over and over. Rinse and repeat. Do it over and over, and then it becomes part of you, right? And that is teaching children discipline. Also communicate your expectations. preventative discipline, and be fair in those expectations. Manage them. Understand that that you have to give them age appropriate instructions. Have age appropriate expectations of them. Don't expect your 5-year-old to remember to clean the toilet, wash the dishes, wash the car. Okay, that's extreme. Exactly. Exactly. Sometimes our expectations of these children are extreme. We need to manage it. Now, I advocate for having high expectations of your children, but they still need to be at their level. And then you can check. You can try something, and if you see that they're able to handle it, then you can go a little bit further. But don't start from the top. Okay. All right. Also, very important here. Preventative discipline means you have to be a role model. You have to show, be an example, show these children what it is that you expect of them. And you may need to be vulnerable. If you are not disciplined in a particular area yourself, you may need to be vulnerable and admit it. There's nothing wrong. There's no shame in it. Let them know that you struggle to, and grow together, become better together. When you put those structures in place and you do those routines for them, do for yourself, so that you're growing as well. You're getting better. If it's time management you need to work on, then routines will help you. A to-do list, a daily to-do list will help you. So as they're working on theirs, work on yours too. If it's reading that you need to get better at, once they're reading, you're reading, because children learn more from what we do than what we say. There's no need to fight it. It's just the way it is, right? They learn, they copy, they absorb. They see you do something, they want to copy, they want to be like you. It's just the way it is. So it is easy for you to teach them subliminally without having to give instructions, by just doing, by just being, right? So be a good example to your child. Be a role model. Model that behavior, right? That disciplined behavior. Let them see you organize yourself. Let them realize that, okay, your child tries to alter your schedule, and you say, oh no, I have planned my time, okay, so let me see what I can do in the next 30 minutes. Okay, I have something doing now, let's see what I can do in the next hour or so. So your child understands that. They hear that and they're like, okay, so once mommy or daddy has planned to do something, there really isn't much we can do to sway them. And then they are learning. Okay, they are learning. They may not say it, but they are learning. And then when it plays out when they're older, sometimes they don't even know where they picked it up from. A friend or an older friend was telling me about her daughter the other day, that the daughter is old now. She's married, obviously. She's married now. But before she got married, she was in grad school, and she would lay down her clothes for the week. Now, she was schooling outside Nigeria, so she would, on a Sunday evening, she would pick out everything she would wear from Monday to Friday and lay it down and iron, and then hang it up in her closet. And she said, the mom was telling me that she saw her do it, and she was like, wow. So this girl saw her, that's what she used to do when she was when they were little, when they were really young girls, and she knew she had to manage her time. So because she knew she didn't have time in the morning to be guessing what was I going to wear on this particular day of the week, on Sundays she would lay out her clothes. This child was watching. So this child is repeating this behavior that she saw her mother practice for a good part of her childhood. That is being a role model. That is modeling a particular behavior, in this case discipline, orderliness, a sense of orderliness, right? An orderly life, right, to your child. Now there's supportive discipline. First, preventative. Second, now supportive discipline. And again, here is structure. This child is not where you want the child to be, so you provide a framework for the child to be realigned or redirected in the other direction that you want them to be. So if it is doing a schedule, helping them organize their time, leaving it to them may not give you the results that you want, but sitting with the child, okay, what do you want to do now? And then you can use a reward system. If you're able to accomplish all your goals in a day, then this is something you're going to get. This might be useful for older children. Maybe they have an exam and they need to study and all of that. Help them organize so that once they start carrying out those processes or those actions, it becomes part of them. So they do it over and over and over again, and then they don't even need to revisit the list or the schedule that you did. They get used to it. That is supportive discipline. You set goals, you set targets with the child, have a conversation. Don't just say this is what you're going to do. Get their buy-in, right? Get their buy-in, have a conversation, tell them this is let them realize that there is a challenge and we need to fix it. Okay, and this is what you're proposing. What do they think? Once you get their buy-in, do a schedule, put a structure in place. Another thing you can do for younger children is have them write out this is supportive discipline now. So they have done something that is like an infraction. Okay, maybe they broke something, so, or maybe they lost something, a toy or a pencil or whatever, and you've seen that it has become something that happens often. This child doesn't take care of their stuff, so you can have this child write, I will take care of my things, 4 pages, depending on the age of the child or how generous you're feeling at that point in time. But you're doing 2 things. You're helping them repeat that thing over and over and over and over and over. It will enter their hearts. Also, you're keeping them in one place for a period of time, and that is also discipline. Teaching a child, children love to jump from seat to seat, from this to that, but if you're able to put a child in one spot for 15 minutes, it teaches them something, it changes something. Okay, so you have occupied this child for this length of time, at the same time putting this new or preferred course of action into their minds by having them write it out. So I will be nice to my brother. I will take care of my stuff. I will tidy my bed. Have them write it. Also, supportive discipline can be allowing the child feel the full weight of their actions, taking full responsibility for what it is that they've done. So if they've offended somebody or they've been disrespectful, make them apologize. If a teacher says your child is not cooperative in class, you can ask the teacher that the next time the other children are going out to play, help me keep this child in class and give them some work to do. Or ask them to help, give the teacher the permission to ask your child to help out, maybe arrange the other children's books, for instance. That's part of supportive discipline. You're teaching the child that actions have consequences. This is your action, and the matching consequence is this, right? Now the third one is corrective discipline. Now corrective discipline can come with consequences, punitive consequences, right? Like withdrawing privileges. So like I said, your knowledge of your child is going to help. You know what you can do that can prompt them to reconsider their actions, something that is not going to cause pain but is going to feel like a loss, okay, that they've lost something. So you're going to have them say release their tablets for some time, for a day or 2 hours or something, or you make them walk back their actions and earn tablet time. If it's something that you used to give freely before, you can say, okay, if you act right for this window of time, then you can get an hour of tablet time, and then you can increase it, or you can take away something. Okay, you know your child. Remove something, cause them to reconsider their actions and think about it and find remorse and apologize and try to make up for what it is that they've done. So that's where punishment-ish can come in. I'm careful of the word punishment, because sometimes the idea that people have when it's time to punish children, it can be very, it can be difficult to watch, right? Hitting and maltreatment and all of that. So I'm careful to use that, but it can be punitive, obviously, to the child, right? So if you take away their tablet, the child feels like the end of the world has arrived, and like they have a limb missing, especially children who are attached to technology and devices and all of that. So you can do that. Withdrawing privileges, thinking corner, letting them sit by themselves to reconsider, to think about what they've done. So that's what I have for you on discipline in parenting. Primarily, what is it that you want out of your parenting? Do you want to do you want to discipline for the sake of it, to make yourself feel good? Is it an ego trip for you? Is it, I said it, therefore you have to do it? Or you want to raise a child who is disciplined, who you don't need to watch their backs for the longest time, who can manage themselves, who are self-motivated, who can drive themselves in a particular direction, who can get things done without your prompting, children who are able to identify what is right and will stand by it, right? You don't want a child who will just follow. You want a child who can think, an independent thinker, right? You don't want a child without initiative, and you don't want to take that away from your child in the name of discipline. So identify what you want and work towards it. And for the love of God, stop focusing on what somebody says or what somebody thinks. Sometimes those things, opinions are well intentioned, but you have to match it with your own decision and your own expectation of yourself and of your child. If there's a correlation, all right. If there isn't, it's not something you should work with and run with. All right. So that is my encouragement this week. I hope you have an amazing weekend ahead, or week, or whenever it is you're watching this. But have a wonderful rest of the day, rest of the evening, and I will see you next time. Thank you again for watching. Bye bye now.